Alright, hey guys, remember CCG back in the video. In this video, I'm bringing you guys a deck profile for Snake Eyes Infernoid or Snake Eyes slash Diabellestarr Infernoid. You guys voted and you wanted to see Snake Eyes, so I thought Snake Eye here works better as like an engine than as like a full-blown pure build. But if you guys want to see that, let me know. There's also other builds that you can do using like something like Rescue Ace. But I decided here as an Infernoid fan to just try out the Infernoid Snake Eye build, and it's actually pretty decent. There's a lot of combos that I want to show you. There's like a 3-card combo that's able to give you out 8 negates, which is pretty powerful, so I hope you guys stay tuned for that. But let's get started. So here I run 2 copies of Anunsu. Anunsu is great because it's actually your Infernoid monster that you're going to be using for level modulation to get out your level 12 synchros, because, you know, Degatron's a level 1, add on the 10, that's 11, and then when you add synchro it with a Snake Eye monster, that gets you to level 12. So it's a great way to go into Crimson Dragon, and of course it's a spell trap negate. Diabellestarr, monster negate that is powerful. The Snake Eye Flamberge Dragon. So here you can play around with the ratios. I just have one copy of this card just because I don't really want to brick too much with this card. But if you want to, 2 copies can also work. Can also help make the deck a bit easier to get this card out as well. And here we have 1 copy of Atondil. This card just to go into Baron the Floor. 2 copies of Saisamis. This is just it's for you to level modulate to get to a level 8 because you want to get out Bish Balkan, and you can use something like that and with Flamberge Dragon in order to combine them and get out this monster. 3 copies of Diabellestarr Dark Witch. It's just a great card that's able to search things out, pretty easy to summon out as well. So you want to just maximize the times you see it. 1 copy of Sajet. Here I can argue for 2 copies just because if you want to really lean in on the Void Feast, you're going to see with the combo, having that 2nd copy can be pretty amazing for that. But if you don't do that, then this card can be really bricky. So there's definitely a risk with that. Petrulia, 1 copy, 2 copies of Harmadic, just kind of like our standard lineup here. You can play around with the ratios if you'd like. 2 copies of the Snake Eye Orc. I originally had 1 copy, but decided to add the 2nd copy just to add a little bit more consistency if you're able to get this card out. Especially summon a Snake Eye monster from your grave. So the great thing about that is that I like using it to get out Excel and summon out and search out my Degatron and then play from there. So it's pretty great. 2 copies of Excel as well. You can run the 3rd copy. That's pretty powerful as well, as it is your way of like linking into your actual Infernoid deck. You can play around with that, but 2 copies has worked for me. 3 copies of Degatron. This is the main card of the deck. This is what's actually going to get the 2 decks working together, the 2 archetypes. And yeah, level modulation is key here, and you're able to set up amazing negates using this card. So 3 copies is definitely a must. 1 copy of 1 for 1 because you can see a bunch of level 1 monsters here, so of course you want to run the 1 copy. 3 copies of the original Sinful Spoils. This card is going to be your way of going into your level 1 monsters. Usually going to use it to get out Excel and then get out your Degatron from there. 3 copies of the Sinful Spoils Hunter Fiend. So this card is going to let you search out your Diabellestarr monster. So of course you want to be able to do that. But not only that, this card also lets you essentially draw a card because you're going to be using this in tandem with Sinful Spoils. And you're going to use this card in order to draw an extra card. And that does really help because this deck really does need you to discard a bunch of things or use up face-up monsters or face-up cards. And getting that extra draw just helps a ton. 3 copies of Void Imagination. I think it's just very powerful, and even if you don't really need it to go into your actual Infernoid monster, it still works because you're gonna want to send face-up cards to the grave in order to activate your Snake Eye monster's effects in order to get something out like Flamberge Dragon. 3 copies of Void Banishment, same reason, but you're actually able to search into your Infernoid stuff. But of course you can play around with the ratios here. I just like having face-up cards because you're going to see with the combos, it's just really important to have cards like that. 2 copies of the Shrine of Serpentine Light, Snake Eye. So this card is the actual field spell for the deck, and it's very powerful because it lets you place a Snake Eye monster from your hand, deck, or grave in your spell and trap zone. And that's great because it gives you another card to send from the field to the grave, so it lets you extend your plays. 3 copies of Layer of Darkness. You know how this card works with Infernoids, and it works even better with this build. Actually, if you don't need the extra copy of this card, which sometimes you get, you can use that as fuel for your Snake Eye monsters and activate their effects using that. So that's pretty great. And then 1 copy of Void Feast. You have a bunch of Void cards, so it's pretty easy to set up. Yeah, Void Feast. If you ever played Infernoids, you know how powerful it can be to get a Sajet and your 2 Degatrons with the Anunsu and Diabellestarr effects. Alright guys, before I go to the extra deck, if you guys are enjoying the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get started. So this, I run 1 copy of Tierra. So Tierra, of course, is going to be your Void Imagination target, so we want to get this and get some mills in It's not going to be as powerful as it would be like with a pure Infernoid build, and you're not going to rely on it as much, but you're able to get it out using Void Imagination, so that's nice. And then Elder Entity Nest is a decent target as well. We really needed to cut back on the Infernoid monsters in order to really use the generic cards here that you're going to see. Something like Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity is an incredible boss monster that you're able to get out, and you essentially win just getting this card out during your opponent's turn, and it's pretty easy to do with this deck. You're going to see in the combos, really easy, but basically your opponent can't activate cards once this card is summoned, so you're just going to summon this card during your opponent's turn. Ultimate Tezouken, pretty easy to get out, again, because of Decatron's just level modulation. It's crazy, and it gets you Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon on the board pretty quickly, and you can pretty much establish a board before you could be Nibiru'd. So it's pretty cool to see that. Crimson Dragon is going to be your way of summoning out Hot Red Dragon Archfiend King Calamity. And again, really easy to get out because of Decatron. Bishboken is, of course, easy to get out as well because Flamberge Dragon and Decatron, level modulation, super easy. Right in the floor, Decatron, just like I said, it's just really easy to get these synchro monsters out, and again, just stay tuned for the combos and you guys will see what this deck is able to do. Appaloosa, you can get a lot more monsters on this board than you would be able to with pure Infernoids, so getting a 4 material Appaloosa, it's not uncommon. Nightmare Unicorn, you know, if you can set out the IP Masquerena, just another form of interaction. Hita here, because you are running fire monsters, so if your opponent happens to ash something, you can use this and extend from there. Muckracker, just a great way to summon out a Decatron. And then 2 copies of Linkuriboh. You're going to be summoning out tokens using a Bishboken, so you want to be able to turn those tokens into Linkuriboh so you can go into Muckracker because it does require 2 effect monsters. Okay guys, and these cards on the side are cards I considered but ended up cutting ultimately. So Devyati here, Devyati is nice to have. I love having the extra copy, especially if you're able to get out something like Void Feast and for some reason you have a Devyati in your hand or your grave or whatever. It just sucks that you can't be able to utilize it. But a lot of times this card can be bricky. I really like the big Infernoid monsters, but they can be bricky. So I want to limit how many I have here. Then we have Snake Eye White Birch. So this card is great because you're actually able to summon it out from your hand. The thing is, it just doesn't do too much to connect the actual Infernoids and Snake Eye monsters together. So I decided to cut it ultimately. And then Access Gold Talker, it's an incredible boss monster, as you guys must know. And, you know, it works really well with Infernoids because it is a link monster, but I decided to cut it just because there is like no space here. You definitely need every card here. You're able to summon it out like consistently, so decided to cut it. Anima, so this could be decent in case you want to get rid of one of your Linkuribohs. The only thing I'd say is that be careful because you can't summon this out using a token, and most of the time you're going to be using Linkuriboh for Bishboken tokens. I decided to cut Reasoning because it's definitely unnecessary. Like with this build, you're not focused on trying to mill a bunch of cards. The main thing that you're trying to do is just set up your monster negates here. During the next turn, if your opponent happens to dismantle the board, you're able to summon out your Inferno monsters from the grave, so that's what's great. But you don't really need to mill everything from the beginning. And then 2 copies of Pot of Prosperity. So this could be pretty good in the deck just because you do sometimes brick, and having Pot of Prosperity search out specific cards is really nice. I just didn't know where to put this. And yeah, definitely needed everything I had here. But I definitely recommend that you guys play around with the ratios and make sure to stay tuned for the combos. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.